Hello everyone, I'm Jim Edwards.
And I'm Becky.
And we welcome you to this week's stop on the road, and we are in Bristol, Virginia, and we are at the Bristol Emergency Food Pantry, and our guest is Jim White. And Jim, officially, your title is? Director, okay. Yes. And we need to find out about the need for food, the ongoing supply of food, everything related to food, and the fact that too many people are hungry. So actually, let's just start about the history of the Bristol Emergency Food Pantry.
The pantry has been here a lot longer than most people probably realize. It started about 1965.
Wow.
At that time, it was part of the Bristol Ministerial Association. Mm-hmm. It was run by that organization. Then about 1982, they decided to spin it off and make it its own entity. And it's a 501c3 and tax-exempt status and all those sort of things. We have been in numerous locations. The first one was way before I got involved, which was up on Mary Street, close to where the Lee Street Baptist Church is now located, in a house. Then later on, they moved over on Oakview, where the Crisis Center is located, in a very cramped little space there. Then they moved to Piedmont Avenue for a short period of time in a little storefront that was near the Courtesy Ice Cream store.
Oh, yeah.
The last place before we moved here was over on Russell Street behind First Christian Church, in a little building that had been a grocery store and was over 100 years old. The floors there were not very sturdy. Every time I put down a case of food, I wondered if it was going to go all the way through.
All the way through.
Well, you felt that way walking on it, too.
Right. It was very cramped. We had no storage space. We just had to pile cases of food up wherever we could get them. It was very inconvenient. Because it was a wooden building, it was porous, and we had bugs coming in and mice and all kinds of things that you don't want any place, especially not in a food pantry.
Right.
This building, to some people, may look pretty plain, and it is plain, but it is so much more serviceable and usable than any place we've ever been before. We probably have about 5,000 square feet in our area. This is in a building called the Bristol Ministry Mall. The building belongs to First Baptist Church. They bought it thinking they could use it for some worship services or some youth activities, but that never worked out. So they decided to make it available to nonprofits. We're here. Also, the Higher Faith Clothes Closet is right next to us on this side. At the far end of the hall is a new organization called the Tri-Cities Diaper Ministry.
Oh, great.
They're not open to the public. This is just their warehouse area.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And they distribute diapers through other agencies in town who come here and pick them up when they need them.
Wow.
The clothes closet is open only 2 days a month, but they're open from 11 a.m. to 7 those 2 days, first and third Tuesdays of each month.
And now when they're open, is that to just anybody, or do you still have to have a voucher? Or
you do not have to have a voucher there. You don't even have to live in the Bristol area to come to the clothes closet. They do get your information the first time you're there and put you in their computer. You're only allowed to come in once a month, even though they're open twice. But they have no other restrictions. Everything they have there is free, except for baby clothes and things that they're in short supply of. Usually there's not a limit on how many items a family can take.
Oh, wow.
The very first day they were open for business in this building, they had about 535 clients that day.
wow.
And they'll have, it depends on the time of the year, the time of the month, but they'll often have several hundred people coming in, on the days they're open.
Yeah.
Our business is a little different because we're open every day of the week, Monday through Friday, and so our business is spaced out and more even than theirs is, since they have.
And they can come more than once a month here, can't they?
Here to the food pantry.
To the food pantry.
We try to discourage people from coming more than once a month.
Okay.
Because we don't want to run out of food for somebody who's not even been here before. But there are some families that are in dire circumstances that do sometimes come more often than once a month. We don't forbid them from doing that. We just try to discourage, too many people coming too often, because like I said, then if we run out of food, somebody is going to get left out. We don't like that to happen.
How do you account for who comes in? Can I walk in off the street?
You can, but you'll be in trouble if you do. There are several agencies in Bristol that can write vouchers. They have the staff to interview the people, find out what their needs are, check their IDs, their income, that sort of thing, to determine whether or not they really have a real need for food. If you live inside of Bristol, Virginia, you can go to Bristol Faith in Action, to the United Way office. If you're already a client at People Incorporated, they can write vouchers for their clients. If you live outside of the city limits of Bristol, but you still have a Bristol, Virginia address, you can go to either Faith in Action or to United Way, but you can also go to the Washington County Department of Social Services.
Okay.
And get a voucher there. The Bristol Department of Social Services wrote vouchers for years, but they have stopped doing that.
Okay, now if I was going to come back twice a month, would I have to have a voucher for each trip?
You would. You must have your picture ID when you come in with the voucher. We discovered several years ago that when we would hand people the voucher to sign, they'd have to look to see whose name was on it before they signed it. So gave us the idea that it may not be the person that they said they were.
Exactly.
So now they have to have a picture ID.
Right.
If you live on the Tennessee side, you've got more options. We serve Bristol, Tennessee, Blanton, and Bluff City area. You still have to have a voucher, but you can get them on the Tennessee side at Tennessee Department of Human Services, which is down on Feathers Chapel Road, at Bristol Neighborhood Service Center, also at United Way, or at Bristol Faith in Action. If you live in public housing on either side of town and you have a caseworker at the housing authority, they can write a voucher for either Tennessee or Virginia residents.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
So that gives several options. We are staffed here by churches. We have a different church who covers the operation each day of the month. And a lot of those volunteers may only work one day out of the whole year if it's a large church and they have a lot of volunteers. So we don't feel like it's fair to those people to have to determine whether or not somebody's eligible. So that's why we require that they come in with a voucher already filled out.
That is a great idea. This stop on the road this week is at the Bristol Emergency Food Pantry in Bristol, Virginia. We're talking to Jack White, who is the director, and we talked about the history, how to get involved, how you can receive supplies. Let's go take a look at what you have and what you need.
Surely.
It's the Boat Doctor's anniversary, and they're celebrating with an additional $1,500 off the already low prices of in-stock new Berkshire pontoons in fishing, entertainment, and family models, powered by Yamaha outboard engines. Also included are Hurricane deck boats with fishing package. Save thousands of dollars with boat show prices every day at the Boat Doctor's 2528 Volunteer Parkway next to Twin City Drive-In Theater, Bristol, Tennessee. Call the Boat Doctors at 423-574-2628.
Hello and welcome to Village Drapery. Let's go on a tour of our store. Here is our selection of grommet panels. We have 6 styles to choose from, all at $19.99 per panel. Looking for valances and top treatments? Try our large selection. We still sell pinch-pleated draperies and the hardware as well. Village Discount Drapery, 215 Raytheon Road, Bristol, Tennessee.
All right, Jim, we've moved inside to the distribution center, and you had touched on the vouchers, and I noticed that if James gets a shot of them, it's okay. If not, but you talked about, or you didn't talk about it out there, but you're talking about now different colors tells you what?
Well, it tells us which agency wrote the voucher.
Oh, okay.
It's not absolutely necessary they do. There's about 3 that use white ones, but some of the others use a distinctive color, and they started doing that because if somebody got hold of one of their blank colored vouchers and tried to make a copy of it to use for other purposes, it's going to come out gray stripe it looked instead of white.
Okay.
So that's why the agencies decided to use color one.
You know, it's sad that you have to do that because so many people that take advantage of it and,
True.
and so forth. But that's a great
But
idea.
they chose what color they wanted. We didn't suggest anything, but
Yeah.
it just so happens that we've got a rainbow here, and
Yeah.
which
Well,
makes it.
I noticed that this one is in red writing, and I have seen it where in some things, because of copies showing up so good you can't tell the difference,
Right.
that they require the original
Oh,
to
I
be in
see.
blue ink.
This particular
Yeah.
agency always does theirs in green.
Okay,
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
way
that's a
when you
good thing.
copy it too, it won't show,
Right.
so.
Sure, that's a
They're
great
the
idea.
only one
Uh-huh.
who does that, but
All right.
that's probably the thinking behind that.
Okay.
But this is our distribution counter. Normally what happens here is the people who are working this day will bring the food here to the counter. Depending on the volunteers, some of them go ahead and bag or box up the food for the individuals. If we've got maybe only 2 people working for this particular day for a church, they may bring the food here and say, here's the bags, you all bag it yourself.
Yeah.
And I really prefer that they do that, because that way they know how much they can lift at one time, and they
Sure.
can put as much or as little in a bag as comfortable for them to.
Well, that's good thinking
move.
too. Sure.
And you can't see it right now, but there's a grocery basket sitting right over here that we keep here for people who feel like they can't carry their food
Okay,
out,
yeah.
themselves. Put it in the basket, roll it out, and bring it back.
Sure.
That works pretty well, except that we've lost 2 of our baskets over the year that
Oh.
we've been here.
Oh.
You mean somebody
People
actually
have
steal your
rolled them
baskets?
out
The
and
basket
have-
like
No, I'm
the
talking about
baggie?
the grocery
Grocery
bag.
shopping
Yeah.
cart, okay.
They've rolled the buggy out and did not bring it back. This shelf right here is items that we don't normally give out. They're not our standard distribution things, but people have donated this to us, and it's food items, and so we put them here, and we let the people pick a couple of items depending on how many people are in their household from this shelf. The rest of our shelves are standard items on them at all times, and we'll go through walk our way through the entire distribution area. They bring their voucher here to the counter first. They pick a letter out front when they come in, starting with A, so that we don't have any disagreement over who's next in line.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
So the first person who's out there, when we're ready, we'll call letter A. They bring it in, we hang it up on the wall. We verify that they're the person who say they are by checking their picture ID, and then have them sign the voucher and verify the number of people that are in the household. We have a list of items that we give out to everyone, but the amount of those items that they get is determined by the number of people in the household.
I see.
So therefore, somebody with 8 people in the house is going to get a whole lot more than somebody with 1 or 2. Surprisingly, most of the people who come here usually have only 1 or 2 people in the household.
Wow.
We do have some large families, but we have a lot of people who come here that their only income is their Social Security. They're probably retired. And you would not believe how many people in the Bristol area are living on less than $500 a month for Social Security, and that's their only income.
Yeah.
So they obviously need help from us and other
Sure,
people too.
yeah.
So apparently that's the reason that we have most of the small families come in.
Jim, I just thought of a statistic. Is it still nationwide or here or whatever, 1 out of every 6 people goes to bed hungry every night?
To the best of my recollection, that's the last
Wow.
figure that I've
Isn't
heard.
That's terrible.
Yes,
Nobody
sir.
should ever be hungry anywhere, and especially not in this area. But
Right.
I just want to say, I just said that to say thank you so much to you and your organization, the Bristol Emergency Food Pantry,
Thank you.
and all of the other ones that help the people that need it. It's a tremendous program. And that's why we urge the public to support it in every way.
And there are other agencies who do some of the same things that we do.
Mm-hmm.
The Haven of Rest does also have a food pantry, and so does Salvation Army.
Mm-hmm.
We try to work closely with those agencies. Sometimes they will get items that they don't use there, or we'll get something here, and we try to trade back and forth
Sure, well,
instead
sure,
of,
that's
make
great.
sure that somebody gets use of the
Yeah.
the food
If
or
we
the item.
want to donate to you personally, but our items are small, let's say we have a half dozen to a dozen items, do you take those?
There's no such thing as too small a contribution. We
Correct.
have a lot of small churches that will bring in, a small amount of stuff, and they always want to apologize because they don't have any more to
Oh,
bring,
yeah.
And nobody's ever brought any. I mean, if you bring one can of something, I mean, that's one more can than we had
Well,
before.
sure,
you
it
came
may
in.
be,
Okay.
maybe a can that somebody actually needed, and there it is.
One thing that people might want that are regular members of a church, a lot of churches here in this area already have a collection point in their church where they gather
Oh, yeah.
food that
Sure.
comes to the pantry. One church in town, I particularly like their idea. They have a large barrel that they have painted so it looks like a can of Campbell's soup.
Oh, that's nice.
And
That's good,
That's
yeah.
the focal point for their collection
Sure.
point. At my church, we have a old grocery basket. One of the grocery stores donated to us, and people know put the
Yeah.
food there.
That's great.
I don't know how many churches are in Bristol. A lot, but I'm sure that we have well over 100 churches that either bring in food or give us cash contributions on a regular basis.
Oh, man, that's tremendous.
Plus,
yeah.
a lot of individuals will just come in
Yeah.
once a month with a bag of something that they've collected.
That's great.
So that really keeps us going. We have the 2 large food drives. In November, we had the Scouting for Food Drive. And
Right.
in April, we have the mail carriers
Oh,
food
yes.
drive.
Yeah.
And those 2 are responsible for most of what we bring in. But we estimated last year that the value of the food that was donated to us was about $395,000 if we'd had to go
Oh,
to the store and buy
fantastic.
that.
That's
That-
tremendous.
that
Thank you,
is.
everybody that participated in
Really,
something
really.
like that. Right.
We have a lot of large contributors. United Coal is one of our biggest
Oh, yeah.
givers. We get money from the Speedway Children's Charities.
Mhm.
For most of the corporations that have an organization that gives out funds, we apply and do get money from a lot of those. And the rest of it comes from churches and individuals.
That's great.
It is, yeah.
I've got a list here of the last quarter of last year, and everything on the bottom of this piece of paper is lists of churches and groups that had donated in that particular year.
Mhm. That's great.
We still have to buy a lot of food in addition to what's donated. In 2012, we spent about $119,000 buying food.
Wow. But that would be the equivalent of maybe buying, what, 300,000? Because is it like still one for every $1 you can buy $3 or $4 worth? Or
That's if you're getting the USDA food.
Oh, USDA
we're
thing,
not,
yeah.
We're not eligible for
I see.
any of that.
Okay.
Oh.
So a lot of that was actually bought at the grocery store.
I see. Okay.
Food City, though, is very generous to us. They give us contributions of
Fantastic.
cash.
Yeah.
or
If
checks.
you went
Yeah.
in to buy from Food City, do they make some allowance for you?
Well, for one thing, we're tax exempt. If they have a special on something that says, buy one and get one free, limit 3, they don't hold us to any limit.
I see.
So
Okay.
we're
Well, that's
able to
great. Sure.
take advantage of the specials that they have. We usually have to buy their lower end products, so there's not a lot of markup on that for them to give us
Sure.
much of a break on that price of it in particular. But without Food City, we'd be in trouble. They're really very generous to us in lots of
At
ways.
one time, you didn't carry a lot of dairy products. You didn't have the
Eggs and
things. Do you now?
we're buying those wholesale.
Okay.
But we try to keep eggs and cheese and sandwich meat.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have milk now?
Not on a regular basis. We have canned or powdered milk.
Uh-huh.
We do have people on occasion who will bring in 10 gallons of milk,
Oh, wow.
And of course, when we have that, we're glad to give it out.
Sure.
Right now, we even have cat and dog food that Holly Help Spay and Neuter have given
Oh,
to us.
great.
Oh, I think
Sue
Holly
Williams
Help
and
is
her
one.
group. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very generous. They bring us food on a regular basis.
That's great.
And they usually bring them in the larger bags, but we'll break them down into smaller containers so that everybody can get at least some.
Right.
Because if you don't have enough money to buy food for yourself, obviously you don't have enough to buy for your pet also.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm a pet lover.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
We're very lucky in the fact that one of the local bread distributors, an independent person who sells the bread to the grocery stores, when the bread runs out of date, they don't have a day-old store like we used to have here in town, this particular company. So they just give us all of their leftover bread.
Oh, that's great.
And so we
Sure.
get that. We get things from the Food City Deli Bakery products
Oh,
that
okay.
have the day that they can't sell it any longer, it's still fine, but
Yeah.
they're not allowed to sell it. And so they donate that to us so that we can give desserts to people, even though probably not the most nutritious thing, but especially people with children
Yeah.
love to get some kind
well,
of
sure,
dessert.
right. This stop on the road is at the Bristol Emergency Food Pantry in Bristol, Virginia, and Jim White is the director, and we are going to move into the warehouse now and see some of the shelves that are holding food, but also talk about the need for more.
Right.
Okay. It's the Boat Doctors anniversary, and they're celebrating with an additional $1,500 off the already low prices of in-stock new Berkshire pontoons in fishing, entertainment, and family models, powered by Yamaha outboard engines. Also included are Hurricane deck boats with fishing package. Save thousands of dollars with boat show prices every day at the Boat Doctors, 2528 Volunteer Parkway, next to Twin City Drive-In Theater, Bristol, Tennessee. Call the Boat Doctors at 423-574-2628.
Hello, and welcome to Village Drapery. Let's go on a tour of our store. Here is our selection of grommet panels. We have 6 styles to choose from, all at $19.99 per panel. Looking for valances and top treatments? Try our large selection. We still sell pinch-pleated draperies and the hardware as well. Village Discount Drapery, 215 Raytheon Road, Bristol, Tennessee.
Okay, Jim, we've moved out to the big area, as I call it, the warehouse. This is really very important because of the fact that this is where you store the food, donated, purchased, however. Bring us up to date on what's happening here and what you really need.
Okay. Well, as you can see, most of our shelves right now are pretty full because we just had the postal workers drive a couple of months ago. But there are things that we have to buy every day. We don't get donations of everything that we need, but any kind of a non-perishable food item we can always use. We, on a regular basis, buy sugar, flour, and cornmeal because it has to be
Well, he
served.
doesn't know he's saying them. Have you ever met
that
anybody
he
like
has bought
that?
on a regular
Yeah.
basis and keep it fresh. We buy peanut butter and
Some
jelly every
people
day. We
burp,
buy
some people
cereal.
just make noises. Some people say foul
beef
words.
stew, spaghetti sauce.
shows.
We don't have to buy as many canned vegetables because we do get a lot of those given to us, but we do run out of most of them eventually. Green beans and corn are the 2 things we get the most of, but if somebody wants to donate green beans and corn, we'll still take them
Well, sure.
because we'll give them away. We just don't, the need is not quite as urgent for those. Any kind of canned pasta or canned meats, canned fruit is another thing that we don't get a lot of. In the summertime, we have a lot of people who will donate fresh items out of their garden, which is wonderful for us.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully, well, for the most part, the day it comes in, we usually give it out, so we don't have to worry about having refrigeration for it. We do have refrigeration available, but not as much as we'd like to have. But fresh vegetables out of a garden would be wonderful, and the clients are so glad to get those because
Well,
they
sure.
that's something that they don't get here or any other place on a regular basis.
How do you get the fresh fruits and vegetables?
Well,
do they
people
come
will
to
just
you?
call
or-
and say, I've got some extra tomatoes in my garden, can you use them, you know?
Oh, great.
And of course, we always can.
Sure.
There's not really much reason for you to even call if you've got extra vegetables in your garden. Just bring
bring
them
it
by
on.
any day that we're open between 1 and 4, and we will gladly accept them and be able to give them away without any difficulty at all.
Right.
But you would like them earlier in the day so that you
Sure,
could.
we open at 1, and if you could be here when we open,
Sure.
that we'd have them available to the people
While
all day
they're really
long.
fresh.
Get 'em
And if
and
you
go
come,
on,
if
sure.
you come too late in the day, then we may have to stuff them in the refrigerator overnight, you know, and not be able to give them out while they were totally
Yeah,
fresh.
right, okay.
So, but if you get here at 5 minutes to 4, we'll still take them.
Sure.
We
All
just
right.
prefer you come early.
Now we're talking about the need for food to be donated and so forth. Now, there are other needs that you have in addition to food. You need money People could
Always.
donate money. And you also have backup equipment that you need, like computers. Tell
We
us
do.
about that.
Someone gave us an old computer that we thought we would be able to use. We found out it doesn't have enough memory. So if anybody has one that has at least 2
Megabytes?
gigs, is that
Gigs?
Gigs,
2
is it
gigs of memory?
I don't understand that
or
either.
more. It doesn't need to have any fancy stuff on it, just a basic computer, so that we can enter our monthly information into it and do reports without me having to do it with a piece of paper and a pencil. Which
Oh
is
my!
what
Is
I
that
do.
what you're doing now?
Which I'm pretty much doing now.
Speaking of pencil and paper, you've got some statistics.
I have some statistics.
Let's talk
For
about
last
those.
year, we had 6,263 vouchers presented here.
Oh my!
And that represented a total of 15,298 people
Oh
that
my
we
Wow.
goodness! It needed help with
fed that
food.
needed help with food.
Oh my!
So far this year, we're pleased to see that we're down a little bit, which is encouraging
Sure,
to
well,
us
sure, yeah.
to feel like that, maybe there's not quite as many people quite as hungry as they
Uh-huh.
have been.
Yeah.
But for the first 5 months, we're down about 174 vouchers less than we had this time last year. But we've actually fed 220 more individuals.
Oh.
So we've had a few more larger families come in than we used to have. We don't see a lot of large families these days because, frankly, how many people can afford to have 4 or 5 children in today's economy? So
Right.
you just don't
That's
see a
true.
lot of big
Sure.
families.
Yeah.
But we've seen some in the last couple of years, people that probably have had jobs that they've lost recently, and now suddenly they're having to come here. We actually have had people that break down and cry because they're so embarrassed
Oh,
that
wow.
they have to come in and ask for
Sure.
help.
Now we're getting close to out of time for this show, Jim. But we want to come back later this year and
Wonderful.
do a follow-up show. But right now, is there a particular season that there is more of a demand? What about now here in the summer? Does it back off some in the summer or down a lot?
Actually, it doesn't. We were before we were starting this last part of the interview, we were discussing among ourselves the fact that last year 2 of our biggest months were July and August.
Wow.
A lot of people probably have grandchildren that they're having to keep at their home
Oh,
during the summer
okay.
that would
Well,
be in
school
school the
out,
rest of
sure.
the year.
Yeah.
And so, they've got extra mouths to feed. And the food programs at schools that provide food for a lot of children,
Right.
breakfast and lunch, are not available to them in the summertime. The rest of the year, it varies. We have anywhere from 425 vouchers a month as high as 650.
My goodness.
So it's not even the whole year.
Yeah,
We've got
yeah.
peaks and valleys. But we've always said that our goal here is to go out of business because nobody
Sure.
needs us.
Oh, it'd be great. Yeah.
Well, when you say vouchers, you're not saying people, because each voucher
Right.
usually is more than one person.
Voucher can be from 1 to however many there are in a household.
Right. As you showed earlier, you had
Right.
400 vouchers, but you had 600 people.
Right.
I mean, it's just an example. But
6,200 vouchers last year.
Yeah.
For 15,000
15,000
people.
people, yeah.
So that comes out to an average of about 3 people.
2 to 3 people. Yeah. Yeah.
Per household. But
Right.
like I say, there's no averages here. It's
Right.
Right. And also, I would like to stress, and correct me if I'm wrong, there is never a time when you don't need donations.
Absolutely.
I mean, donate anytime. You're here, by the way, you're here Monday through Friday and
Friday.
closed on holidays.
Correct.
But you're here 1 to 4?
1 to 4 every afternoon. Yes.
Okay, all right. So you folks that want to help and you need help, contact the Bristol Emergency Food Pantry. Jim White is the director. What about phone number for people to call that want to find a
Okay.
way to donate?
All right.
And also, be sure, please remember, they need money too, because there are a lot of expenses involved.
The phone number you need to call is 423-571-4449. If you'd like to mail us a contribution,
Yes, good thought.
just send it to Bristol Emergency Food Pantry, Post Office Box 1471, Bristol, Virginia 24203. We do have a website,
Yes, good.
so if anybody wants to go online and look us up,
What's the web?
they can the website
Yes.
is just Bristol Emergency Food Pantry. I'm not sure whether it's abbreviated, but you
Or
you can
or
find
that or
Is it
Google
.org or?
Yes.
It would be a
Okay.
.org since it's
It'll be a
nonprofit.
.org,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
But there's more details there about the different ways
Sure.
they can.
Probably the easiest
Do-
thing to go to anyway, because
Well,
it's
is
all
there an
there.
email listed with the website that if they want to contact somebody that?
Our treasurer has email, and I think she has her contact
Okay, okay.
Okay.
All right.
information on that site.
That's great. Jim, thank you so much for letting us visit you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you
Both
very
of
much.
Really
Thanks.
appreciate
And
it.
as I'm said before, I'm stressing again, please help, because nobody should have to go to bed hungry anywhere, but especially in this area. And we'll be back later in the year and do a follow-up, see
We'll
how
be
things are
looking
going.
forward to
Okay?
that.
And so until we see you next time, I'm Jim Edwards,
And I'm Becky Blanton.
and we're looking forward to our next stop on the road.